here will give us their best arguments to show us that Muhammad, how they are similar. So if you can give me some of thing, So when a Muslim, he say they are, but obviously the fruit we witness is totally different. In my program alone, and I'm sure from your work and Sam is the same. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of Muslims left Islam, and all what we do, we just expose Islam. So I remember once a bishop, he says to me, and he's a bishop, he said to me, "What are you getting from this?" So I said to him, "How old are you, sir?" He said 70 something. I said, "Okay, ask me. I will ask you, how many Muslims you brought to Christ?" He said, "None." I said, "Ask me the same question." So he could not say anything. So they complain, but they don't want to do the job. So okay, if your work is, if your way is not working, let us do our way. And the Messiah, our Lord, he is the first debater. If those people, they knew the Bible very well, you will see that the Messiah, he was debating with the Jews. As an example, he says to them, "What do you say of Christ?" They said to him, "He's the son of David." And then he says, "Well, if he is son of David, then how David called him my God, my Lord." So this is how the Messiah himself, he share his truth with the Jews. So look like those people, they don't want us to be the same as the Messiah. They don't want us to be the same as Paul, the same as all the apostles of Jesus. All actually, even the letters of the Bible is what? Is about debate. What is the best way to be Christian? So they talk too much because simply they are not the one doing anything, and they blame those who do a lot of work for doing work.
Yeah.
So they are useless. They are like the smoke which has no fire.
Exactly. Can I start it up? Ask some questions. You got another one?
Well, we have some comments, but go ahead. Go ahead and start off.
No,
Go ahead and start. Good.
No, I didn't see any. If you have questions, start.
All right. I don't know if this is actually coming from a Muslim or from someone who wants us to respond to common Muslim arguments, but we have here.
Send by Flutterway helps me to keep a very close tab on my family when it comes to sending money. And this is just the easiest way for me to keep in touch with my family, and it's just one click away. That's why I send.
Muhammad was prophesied in Exodus and Deuteronomy, as well as the Song of Solomon.
Now, David, you caught me by surprise. I know Deuteronomy and Song of Solomon. There's actually a prophecy that they point to in Exodus?
Yeah, nothing's coming to mind right now. So, Chandler, if you could tell us what you're talking about in Exodus. We know what you're referring to in Deuteronomy and in Song of Solomon. So, Song of Solomon 5:16 and Deuteronomy 18:18. So, if you have a particular one in Exodus, go for it. So, all right, who wants to respond to these?
Well, what I want to ask CP, can you give us some reasons to show that Muhammad cannot be like Moses, and Muhammad's God is not like the God of Moses? Because the prophecy in Deuteronomy 18, CP, you know this, I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to you, the prophet's going to be like Moses. Was Muhammad like Moses, CP? Can you help us see?
Well, first, we have to take this into steps. Yep. When the Muslims, they say that, they are against the Quran, because the Quran says that Moses, he was sent to the Pharaoh. Moses and Aaron, they were sent to the Pharaoh. Muhammad, according to Muslims, he is the only messenger who was sent to the mankind. So Moses, he was sent to the Pharaoh, but yet he's a messenger for the Jews. And here you see contradiction. At the same time, we notice that the Quran says in chapter 14, verse number 4, we never send a messenger except in the tongue of his people. So in order for Muhammad to be a messenger, in order for Moses to be a messenger, in order all messengers to be the same as each other, then the Quran have to be false, because Allah never sent Moses enlists to the people who speak his tongue, but yet we see him speaking to the Pharaoh. Muhammad, he should not be a messenger for somebody from Pakistan, but yet he is speaking to people who they are not Arab. In the same time, when the Muslims, they say that Muhammad is the same as Moses, in which way? The Quran says that in chapter 61, verse number 6, it says, وَإِذْ قَالَ عِيسَى ابْنُ مَرْيَمَ يَا بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ إِنِّي رَسُولٌ إِلَيْكُمْ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا etc. And then he says, there's a messenger will come after me, his name is Ahmad. His name is Ahmad. All right? So when the Muslims, they say that Moses is the same as Muhammad, do they mean that he will come to the Jews? You know what I mean? Because if he is the same as Moses, and the Muslim, they say, Moses come to the Jews only. That means Muhammad only come to the Jews. He cannot be to the Arab. If Muhammad is a person who is a messenger for all mankind, that means he is not the same as Moses. This is number one. Number two, the Quran says that you have to speak the tongue of the people. Which people? The people or your own people. Muhammad, he did not speak the tongue of the people, and he is not knowledgeable in the book. The Quran confirmed that Muhammad, he have no knowledge in the book, in the gospel, in the Torah, and even in the book of Ibrahim, as they claim. Moses is a person who put, he have a lot of knowledge, and he cannot be the same as Muhammad. Additional to that, Moses have miracles. Where is the miracles of Muhammad? Zero. Moses, as an example, God, he split the sea for him. The God of Islam did not even split a watermelon for Muhammad. How to be the same, So when a Muslim, he say they are the same, they try to say, well, this guy, he went through a tough time, and this person go through everybody, I went through a tough time too. I mean, all of us, I've been in war. So does that mean I'm a prophet? Anyone can claim to be a prophet. And if we try to create similarity, all of us, we are son of Adams, and we have many ways of being similar, So it's a very silly argument to say that. But I would like you, Sam, to ask the Muslims, those who say they are the same, I want them to tell us how, so we can get how busted. I'm waiting for the Muslim to say how they are similars. So if you can give me some of what they say, so we can laugh together.
Now, CP, another thing. One of the things that set apart Moses is that God himself came down in a pillar of cloud, showed himself in a pillar of cloud to Israel, and then Moses entered the cloud and saw the form of God. That's what Numbers 12:6-8 says, saw the form of God, and God spoke to him directly. Now, if Muhammad is like Moses, CP, did Allah ever show up in Mecca and appear in a visible way?
To Muhammad, according to all Muslims, Allah did not speak to Muhammad. Muhammad never saw his Lord. And Muhammad always received all his revelation by a guy, his name is Jibreel.
And who did he look like? Jibreel looked like who?
Like Dahya al-Kalbi, who is a very handsome boy, a handsome man in Quraysh. And here we need to ask ourselves, why does Jibreel did not come to Moses, as long Moses and Muhammad are the same? Why the delivery to Moses was not by Jibreel, but the delivery to Muhammad was by Jibreel. Same time, why Allah, he wrote for Moses? The Quran says that Allah, he wrote for Moses by his hand. He read the tablet. So Allah wrote for Moses by his hand, but Allah, he wrote nothing for Muhammad. Even the Quran was collected not by Muhammad, was collected by someone who came after Muhammad. His name is Uthman. So what is the similarity? The only similarity I see, the Muslims, they can find that both, they claim to be a prophet, but one is a true.
The Baby Room at Smith's has a quality range of car seats for kids of all ages. That's why our Baby Room advisors are here to help you find the one that's just right for you by considering comfort, durability, and safety. We'll find the perfect match for your baby and budget. Expertly checked by us, loved by Lily. Shop the Baby Room at Smith's online and in-store today.
Prophet and one is false prophet.
I'm going to add to that, CP, because we want to tap into your knowledge. Now, another thing, according to Deuteronomy 24:104, it says, this is the God of Moses speaking through Moses. It says that if a man divorces his wife, she marries another. Deuteronomy 24, verses 104. And the second husband dies or divorces the woman, she cannot return to her first husband because that's an abomination to the God of Moses. Now, CP, explain to us. Now, I want to make sure everyone heard that. Everyone heard what I said? The God of Moses told Moses in Deuteronomy 24, verses 104, if I'm married and I divorce my wife, she remarries, she can never come back to me. That would be an abomination. CP, explain to us, Muhallal. In Islam, can a man divorce a woman, his wife return to him even if she's married? And what is that called? What the guy that does that, isn't it? His name's Muhallal. Explain that to us, CP. Further proof Muhammad is not like Moses.
A Muslim man, he can divorce his wife as many as he wish, and when he reached the number 3, she have to go and sleep with someone else, not only to marry him. Even Muhammad in the hadith, he said, until she tastes her juice.
Wow.
And he tastes her juice. If we go to the dictionary, the word asila, it means orgasm. So not only she have to marry a new husband, she have to taste his orgasm, and he have to taste her orgasm. And then after that, the new husband divorce her, she can go back to the previous husband. And this can be found in the Quran, where it says if you divorce your women, etc., in chapter 2, verse number 233.
Just so they can understand what you said, you're saying, Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 230, if a man divorces his wife, we call irrevocably, the third pronouncement of divorce, he cannot take her back, because I want them to hear this, because I want them to hear the shock. He cannot take her back until she marries someone, and that man tastes her juice and divorce her. Is that what you just said? That's what Islam teaches?
Yeah, this one in 230, and then 233 give more details. So in the hadith, Muhammad, he gave more explanation. So the Quran chapter number 2, verse number 230 says, if she is divorced after that, which means 3 times, she cannot go back to him unless she if a new man. And Muhammad in the hadith says, she cannot go back unless she tastes her juice and he tastes her juice.
Astaghfirullah. Sifi, come on, man. I thought Islam, Quran is beautiful. It's poetic. Why you talk like this?
Well, I am not the one saying that. This is what the Quran is saying. This is what the Quran, and this the Quran says it 3 times. And here we need to ask why 3 times. I mean, what about 4 times? Again, the Trinity appear in Islam. Everything about in the Trinity. Mary, she have to fast 3 days from talking. Zechariah have to fast 3 days from talking. You divorce your wife 3 times, and then she cannot get back to you unless she goes sleep with someone else. And then Muhammad, he fast for 3 days. I mean, everything is a 3 times. Even if you go to the bathroom, you have to shake your private part 3 times.
So I guess you guys got enough information proving Muhammad is not like Moses. You can add a final detail. In Exodus 4:22-23, it says that Israel is the firstborn son of God. Exodus 4:22-23. You shall say to Pharaoh, thus says the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So I say to you, let my son go that he may serve me. And if you refuse to let him go, I will slay your son, even your firstborn. So Israel's the firstborn son of God. Deuteronomy 14, verse 1. You are the sons of the Lord your God. Now, in the Quran, chapter 5, verse 18, it says, the Jews are not the sons of Allah, nor are they his beloved. End of story. Muhammad cannot be like Moses.
What about Moses? Moses, he did not marry children. Muhammad was marrying children. Moses was not accused to be a thief. Muhammad was accused to steal an underwear. Moses did not say if the prophet he want to have sex with any woman, she want to give herself, and this is a privilege to him. So if Muhammad the same as Moses, how come he gave a privilege to him, the first of the booty, the first of the money? If you want to see Muhammad, you have to pay him. Where in the Bible it says if you see Moses, you have to pay him? Where in the Bible it says that if a woman she want to give herself to Moses so he can sleep with her? Where in the Bible it says that Moses was accused of stealing clothes? I mean, how they can be the same together? So in order for Moses to be a Muslim, first he have to be following Islam and practice all the practice of Muhammad. Where Moses kissed the black stone, where Moses says let us pray the direction to the Kaaba, where Moses he said if you touch a stone, the stone will erase your sin. Where Moses he said the dog is the devil. I mean, we should have the same belief. When you speak about the same, so we have to share God, we have to share the belief, we have to share the system, we have to share even the practice. Even the fasting is not our fasting. So what Muhammad have to do with Moses? Nothing. But here, Sam, remember something, that when somebody have no heritage, he try to look for one. You will see someone, he says, I am the cousin of this king, because he want to be proud. And this is exactly what the Muslims, they try to do. Muhammad has no honor, so they are trying to find him an honor by fraud.
In fact, I said we're going to move on, but this is this final example because it's very important to show how immoral Muhammad is. Christians, I want you to hear this, and CP is going to explain the difference in Islam and the Quran. Notice what Moses says, Deuteronomy 21, 10 to 14, about 20 years before Muhammad even showed up. Moses forbids Israelites from sleeping with captive women. He orders them that if you find a captive woman that you find attractive, you give her 1 month to mourn her dead and marry her, treat her as a wife. Let me read it. And by the way, this was revolutionary in its historical context. Even liberal scholars will say that this command is revolutionary. It's unheard of in its historical context. The fair treatment and respect for captive women. Deuteronomy 21, 10 to 14. Christians, hear this. Muslims, hear this. The difference between Moses and your prophet. When you go forth to war against your enemies, Deuteronomy 21, 10 to 14, and the Lord your God has delivered them into your hands, and you have taken them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and have a desire for her to have her as your wife, okay? Then you are to bring her home to your house. She is to shave her head and trim her nails, signs of mourning. She must also discard the clothing of her captivity, because in order to remove the stigma that she has been taken captive, get rid of those clothes to help her in that transition. And she'll remain in your house and mourn her father and her mother for a full month. After that, you may have relations with her. You can't touch her for a month. Let her mourn and be her husband, and she will be your wife. Now notice how beautiful this is. It will be, if you are not pleased with her, then you must let her go wherever she pleases, but you may not sell her at all for money, nor are you to make merchandise of her, because you have humbled her. Now CP, this is revolutionary, the God of Moses. In Islam, do you find a command where Muhammad said, if you see a captive woman, you can only marry her, otherwise you can't touch her? What does Muhammad and his God say?
Actually, Muhammad, he said it clearly that you can have sex with all your slaves, and even when especially in the case of the Muhammad, the Muslim, they were fighting with their friends, their cousins. So when the men of Muhammad, they came to him, they said, but we know their husbands, which means they are our friends. He said, it doesn't matter. They are yours. So if you go in the Quran, chapter 4, verse number 3, it says you can have sex with your slave, not to marry her. In the same time, chapter 4, verse 24, chapter 4, 25, chapter 4, 36, 16, 71, 23, 6, etc. All over the Quran says, whatever you own in your right hand possess, they are yours, and you do not need to marry them. As an example, Mary the Copt was not from the right hand process, because the right hand process is captive of war, as you said. And here you notice Muhammad here, even he broke his own command. The Quran says you can rape those women who they are captive, but Mary the Copt, she was not a captive from war. She was a slave gift. Yet Muhammad, he slept with her. And here you notice Muhammad, he is not only far away from Moses and everything, he is taking gifts, sleeping with the gift, raping women, and he is not saying to his men, marry them. They are just a slave. There's a book, it's called Muwatta Malik. If you read it, you will see how the Muslims, they treat their slaves. As an example, Umar al-Khattab himself, he did beat a slave just because she covered herself. Because by covering yourself, you are making yourself equal to a free woman. So you will notice here how Moses is saying it clearly. And one of the reasons I believe, Moses, he said that the law she should shave her hair. I think there's more than one reason, but I find it very important is to think about it this way. If a woman, she have no hair, she is not attractive. So the man will not be tempted by having a slave. The same time, the woman, she will be, let us say, give her some comfort from what she went through. She was in her family house, and now she is a captive. From a free woman to a captive, this is not easy. So imagine what Muhammad, he did. Muhammad, he took as an example Safiya. He raped her before even he arrived home. in the edge of her house. The same he did with many, many women. He raped them right away after he captured them and he enslaved them. So we notice a huge difference between both, and we cannot even match. But as I said, when you have no honor, you try to look for one.
By
This
the
is
way,
why the Hormuz says.
CP, another thing I want you to affirm, because it didn't come out. Isn't it true in 424? Not only can you sleep with captive women, but even if they're married, their husbands are alive, you can still rape them and sell them, right?
Absolutely, yes. 424
Emphasize
mention. Yeah, but I did not mention, as you said, I did not mention that it is even if they are, a Muslim man cannot marry a married woman unless she is a captive. So this is why I said the husband, they say, the Muslim, they say to Muhammad, well, we know their husbands. You remember? I said that. We know their husbands, which means they are married. So Muhammad, he said, so what? They are yours. So this is what the verse saying, even if they are married, you can take them.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, you did say that. I just wanted it to come out clear because I want them to see how filthy this religion is. But what else we have?
I just wanted to add one point that would apply to sort of any prophecies that Muslims are want to pull out of the Bible. Because Deuteronomy was mentioned. I just wanted to quote Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 20. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name that I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. Notice Moses right here in the same chapter, just 2 verses after the prophecy that is supposedly about Muhammad, just 2 verses later, we are told a prophet who meets either one of 2 criteria has to be a false prophet, and he would have been put to death. 1, if he speaks in the names of other gods, or 2, if he delivers a revelation that didn't come from God. He claims it's from God, but it didn't actually come from God, and it could be verified that his revelation didn't come from God. That prophet would have to die. Why is this relevant? Well, Muhammad, in the History of At-Tabari, Volume 6, page 111, said, and I quote, I have fabricated things against God and have imputed to him words which he has not spoken. Read it again. I have fabricated things against God and have imputed to him words which he has not spoken. What was the criterion that we read in Deuteronomy 18? If someone claims to speak in the name of God, but the revelation doesn't actually come from God, that prophet would have to die. Muhammad said that he did it. This is in reference to the infamous satanic verses where Muhammad received a revelation promoting polytheism and then came back and said, sorry, the devil made me do it. According to Deuteronomy, he would have been sentenced to death. So Muslims claim to respect Moses. Ladies and gentlemen, if Muhammad had delivered the satanic verses during the time of Moses, Moses would have said, everyone pick up a rock and hit him with it. And he would have been stoned to death. So notice that would apply to any passage you want to bring up from the Bible. Any passage you want to bring up, any prophecy about Muhammad, guess what? According to the Bible, Muhammad is a false prophet who, during the time of Moses, would have been executed as a false prophet. And we know what the New Testament says about false teachers, false prophets coming, and so on. So Muhammad's going to fail no matter what. All right.
Deuteronomy 21:10-14. Someone asked what the verse was. Deuteronomy 21:10-14. Just remember that. Okay. Next questions for CP. What's up?
This one's from Abu Bakr Ghazali. He says, Muhammad came with Tawheed. So we asked for reasons to believe that Muhammad is a true prophet. And Abu Bakr, who believes in Tawheed, said, well, Muhammad came with Tawheed. So Muhammad came. Now notice the circularity, by the way, already, right? Here is the true concept of God brought by Muhammad. Okay, well, how do you know that Muhammad's a true prophet? Because he brought this concept of God that I've already decided is true. Now notice you could say that about anything, right? If you're a Christian who believes in the Trinity and someone says, how do you know that that's true? Well, because the authors of the Bible brought forth the doctrine of the Trinity, as we all know, and it's true. So this proves that it's the word of God. Do you see the circularity there, Abu Bakr Ghazali? But anyway, so Christian Prince, Sam, why is this a really, really bad argument?
That's right. CP, does Islam really teach Tawheed, the worship of one God, or are there other gods? Or did
First of all, Tawheed is not worshiping oneness. Tawheed in Arabic means to unify. So how it is one but unify? So is it one about one as number, or one about unity? The word Tawheed is a wrong word to use to prove the point. And this is proving to us how silly Islam is. They don't speak Arabic, they don't know Arabic, and then yet they use the word Tawheed, which is against what Muslims claim. Because when you say Tawheed, ask anyone. You can type it right now in Google. Tawheed, it means unification. Tawheed does not mean oneness. It means unification. Like, Tawheed al-Duwal al-Arabiya, I just said, unification of the Arabian states. As simple as that, perfect sentence. So the word Tawheed is wrong. Secondly, as long Allah is one. And by the way, who cares if Allah is 1 or 10? If there is an Indian guy, he have 1,000 God, but they are true God, still he is a true. The number doesn't mean any different. I mean, this is stupid. Like if somebody says, I have 10 cars, and he have 10 cars, well, they are 10. Hello? So if there's 10 gods, there's 10 gods. If there's one, there's one. That will not change anything. Secondly, if Allah is one, how he say in the Quran, in chapter 21, verse number 17, if we desire to take a partner as a wife, lahwan, women, we will take it from ourselves. If Allah is one, how he will marry from himself? I challenge any Muslim to solve the problem. Because he is one. You see, the Muslim, when we say to them, Allah, he say we, they say this is a majestic statement. Like king, we say we. Okay, but here it's talking about taking a partner, which is a woman. So in chapter 21, verse number 17, it says, had we desire to take to us a partner, and Arabic it says lahwan, which means a female woman, we will take it from ourselves. Okay, how Allah can take partner with ourselves if he is the only unique person who have a kind of himself? You know what I mean, David and Sam?
Yes, sir, I understand. That means there has to be more than one for Allah to take a partner from them.
Yeah, can we marry God to a woman? Normal woman? Can we marry God to a donkey? Can we marry God? I mean, when he says ourself, he himself, he used the word ourself. So as long ourself, it's been from us. And to say from us, okay, that's mean, okay, we are the same kind.
Yeah. So everyone understood what he just said. Guys, bless me. Okay. Everyone understood what he just said. When he says that we can take a partner from ourselves, that means ourselves must be a true plural. There has to be more than one. And Allah then can choose from one among those that are with him to be his girlfriend, his lover. So that again refutes Tawheed. What about CP in chapter 112 of the Quran, Surah Al-Ikhlas, where it says Allah Ahad? Can you explain the real meaning of when it says Kul Allahu Ahad? Explain the real meaning of there, because the Muslims have deceived us into thinking that the word Ahad there means one. What does it really mean? Mean in Arabic?
The word ahad mean one of does not mean one. The word one in Arabic is wahid. So when we say wahid, it's mean one. When we say ahad, we mean one of. And this is appear in more than 29 places in the Quran at least, or 30. And it says all of them, you can check anywhere where it says ahad. And last time actually we spoke about it, that the Quran keeps saying like we don't differentiate with our prophet between any of them. And the word any of is ahad. As an example, if you read, Sam, you can read the chapter 3, verse number 73.
Okay, let me get it for you, CP. Let me get it. Listen, let me get it, folks. 1 second. Here goes the Quran browser, chapter 3, verse 73. We're going to get it. So, guys, listen to what he's saying, because he knows the Arabic. It's his mother tongue. Don't let Muslims deceive you. Ahad in chapter 112, verse 1 doesn't mean one. It means one of. So Allah's one of what? Now, let me read 373 for CP. I'm going to read Pikthal, even though you can correct his mistranslation. It's 373. And believe not save in one who followeth your religion. Say, O Muhammad, lo, the guidance is Allah's guidance, that anyone is given the like of that which was given unto you, or that they may argue with you in the presence of their Lord. Say, O Muhammad, lo, the bounty is in Allah's hand. He bestoweth it on whom he will. Allah is all-embracing, all-knowing. So is that the part where it says anyone?
Anyone, exactly.
So that's ahad, right?
So, and see here, see the hypocrisy. How ahad in that verse only in the whole Quran suddenly became one, when the whole Quran translates the word ahad as anyone or one of. You see the hypocrisy? How the word suddenly changed. Ahad always mean one of. You know? One of many. One of two, one of three, one of four, doesn't matter. He is one of others. So when Allah, he says, Allah is ahad, well, that's a problem and that's a mistake. Unless he is saying Allah is ahad, the God who was around the Kaaba. There was one of the idols who was around the Kaaba, whose name is Ahad. So it might be that Allah, or the verse say that Allah is the same as Ahad. It's just another name for Ahad.
Now,
You know, when the Muslims, by the way, when the Muslims they say Allah, Muhammad, he came for Tawheed, right?
yes.
Okay, the Kaaba have 360 idols. So the we unify them all, we made them all Allah. Is that what it's mean? This was mean. By the way, David, there's somebody posting bad.
Yeah,
bad,
we got him. The last
Yeah.
wine, we know.
Yeah.
He has no shame. But CP, to add to this point, guys, pay attention. Chapter 112 says Allah is one of. That's first mistake, proving Quran doesn't teach Tawheed. Secondly, CP, isn't it true in chapter 9, verse 31, it says that Allah wants people to take Him and Messiah as lords and no one else?
Yeah, this is actually but when you read the translation, it comes differently.
Yes.
They say to take Allah. So in Arabic it says, they are taking their monks and their rabbis as God instead of Allah and the Messiah. But the Muslims in their translation, they put it as they wish and they change it. So they make it no. They took their monks and their rabbis and Jesus as God instead of Allah. When the fact this is a fabrication.
So you're saying the Arabic clearly, because you know the Arabic, the English, we don't know, we're English speakers, for us. You're saying chapter 9, verse 31 says that the Jews and Christians, their mistake was that they took the rabbis and monks as lords besides Allah and the Messiah, meaning that Allah and the Messiah should be their one Lord. That's what the Arabic says?
Yes, exactly. This is what the Quran is saying. I will read it in Arabic, and I change the Muslim to say online. اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا لا إله إلا هو سبحانه وتعالى. Here you notice, by the way, it says it clearly, instead of the Messiah and Allah, and then it says the word wahidan. You see the word one? That is one. Wahid. Not ahad. That is the correct one. That's the correct word for the word one. Wahid. In that verse. Not ahad. But here, by the way, Sam, as long as we are talking about this, the Muslim, they say that the Torah is corrupt, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then they try to witness to us from the Torah that Muhammad is there, right?
Yep.
But isn't it that's funny? And then the Quran in chapter 5, verse 44, it says that Allah trusted the Jews to protect the Torah. So look at this madness. The Muslims, they say Muhammad is the same as Moses. But then the book of Moses is gone. So how we can find he's the same as Moses from the corrupt book? Look how silly. Secondly, then they say to us that we worship one God. And then they say we worship one God, but we kiss black stone and we believe in things that have nothing to do with Moses. And then they add to that Allah, he trusted the Jews to protect the Torah. Chapter 5, verse 44 says that Allah entrusted the Jews. Sam, your English is better than mine for sure, and David. What did trust mean when we say entrust?
That means that He gave it to their care and protection to preserve it.
Yeah, but the trust is mean like you're good, right?
Yeah.
I know you're
trusting you with this because you're reliable. Yeah, like, hey man, I trust you with my money. I trust you with my car because you're reliable. That's why I trust you.
Did Allah make a wrong decision, wrong trust? Because when you trust somebody, you know. I mean, this is God, right?
Yeah.
So if I am God and I trust you, that's mean I know what you will do later. So when Allah, he trusted the Jews to protect the Torah, do he knew that they are not trustworthy, or he don't know?
Well, CP will be surprised. Shabir Ali now believes that Allah, the future may be open to Allah. He's embracing open theism. Allah may not know the future. So Shabir Ali may say, yeah, he probably didn't know.
But he have to come to this conclusion because obviously Allah, he do not know the past, neither the future. Isn't it the Quran says, okay, Sam, for sure you can teach us better in this case. As-Samiri, he met Moses in the Quran.
What? Samaritan, huh?
Samaritan, yeah. In Arabic we say As-Samiri. Okay.
Chapter 20 of the Quran, yeah. The Samaritans did not exist.
So how this happened?
Yeah, exactly.
You know. So which Moses they are talking about? Obviously, even the Moses in the Quran is not our Moses. I mean, how he can exist in the time of the Samaritan, and this is stupid. So here we notice that the Quran is a book of madness, and it's mixed up. He do not know. Mary is the sister of Aaron, and her father, his name is Umran, and Moses, his father, name is Umran.
Yep.
And Aaron, his father name is Umran. So now here we go. We have a family. We have Umran. We have Moses. We have Maryam, and we have their grandson. His name is Jesus.
Yeah. But let me just repeat what you said for everyone so they can get it. Guys, understand what CP is showing you. The Moses of the Quran, his father's name is Imran. That's even in the Hadith. And remember, according to the Quran, Moses' brother is Aaron. And yet in the Quran, the mother of Jesus is the sister of Aaron. That's chapter 19, verse 28. The daughter of Imran, chapter 66, verse 12, says she's the daughter of Imran. And in the Quran, it says that Mary's mother is the wife of Imran, chapter 3, verses 35, 36. The only Moses whose father's name was Imran, who has a brother named Aaron, and Aaron's sister named Mary, is actually depicted as being the mother of Christ, making Moses the uncle of Christ. Because in Numbers 26:59, it says Amram, his wife Jochebed, gave birth to Miriam, Aaron, and Moses. And yet this Miriam, Aaron, and Moses happened to be the family of Jesus, because Jesus' mother Mary is the sister of Aaron and her daddy's Imran. So Moses is Jesus' uncle. That's beautiful, CP. I mean, and then on top of that, CP, Musa also must have met Eliasim. Can you explain why in the world Elijah is called Eliasim? I didn't know that names can be plural. I know Elias, but then Eliasim? What's going on here, CP? Can you explain the logic of the Quran?
Well, first there's names in the Quran. We do not know where they are coming from. But if you go to chapter Yasin, Yasin is not Elijah. Yasin, Ya is a word meaning God. Sin is the moon god. Yasin. Muhammad, he copied the name. He do not know what it's mean. If you go to the Quran and you ask the Muslims, okay, what is Yasin mean? You will see, as an example, in many tafsir says Allah knows best. All right, Allah knows best, and then everyone he start to guess what did the word mean. But the fact, you can go right now and search, you will find that is an old word for God, and sin is the name of the moon god. Muhammad, he was saying Yasin, not anything. And then the Muslims, they start compromising words and try to make it Elijah when they want. So, Isa, like as an example, where is Isa? Who is Isa?
Yeah, who is he?
Okay,
who's he?
Who is Amran? Even who is Israel? And the other day, Sam, there's a guy was making fun of the word Israel. He says not the word. He was saying Israel. He was struggling with God. He was wrestling with God, right? So I said to him, but so why your God Allah he adopted the word Israel? He said what? He said, so if you are making fun of the story, how come Allah he called him Israel? He said, what does that mean? I said, this is what the word mean.
Exactly.
So by adopting the name, you adopt the story, because this is what the word Israel mean.
Exactly.
So they make fun of the story, but the fact the Quran confirmed the story by saying the word Israel. So the Muslim, they have tons of words in their Quran, because their Quran is a counterfeit of other belief. Christianity, Judaism, Sabi, and you name it. So, like as an example, the Quran says that the father of Abraham is Azar. Who is Azar?
Yeah, who is he? Tell me, CP. You're confused me. I thought it was Terah. What happened?
Azar is a word mean foolish. And Abraham, he was saying to his father, foolish. How are you going? This is foolish. Are you going to worship idols? That makes sense. And here you see how much disconnected the one who recited the Quran, Muhammad, and the one who wrote the Quran, Waraqa. Muhammad is reciting what Waraqa he said, but he do not know what Waraqa mean. This is why the Quran says there's many verses in the Quran, nobody knows what they mean save Allah, because Waraqa did not explain that to Muhammad.
So I just want to make sure people got what you said. Guys, notice, Abraham's father in the Quran, his name is Azar. The Bible says Terah. In the Quran, Jesus' mother Mary is the sister of Aaron. Her father is Imran. The only Mary, Maryam, who had a brother named Aaron, whose father's name was Imran, is the sister of Moses. Eliasim, we have no idea who the heck that is, even though it's supposed to be Elias, even though his name is not Eliasim. But CP, since we're on Tawhid, I just want one more verse, because you're the Arabic expert, and you can confirm this. Not only do you have in chapter 9, verse 31, where it says, Allah doesn't want Jews and Christians to take rabbis and monks as lords besides Allah and Jesus, the Messiah. So the only Lord Allah wants them to take is Him and Messiah. But is it not true? And you may need to look at the Arabic, and you'll confirm this. Chapter 3 of the Quran, CP, verse 18. I'm going to read what the Arabic says, and you can confirm. It says, Allah himself bears witness, there is no God but him and the angels and the men of learning. Isn't it true that in the Arabic, Allah is saying, there is no God but me and the angels and the men of learning? In other words, the Arabic, whoever wrote this or recited it, made a boo-boo by saying that Allah bears witness that he, the angels, and the men of witness are Allah. Can you confirm that, please?
Let us fix something here. Allah here, he didn't say, I witness that I am. Allah, he said, suppose the verse. It says, I will translate exactly word by word.
Please.
Allah witnessed that there is no God except he. And here there's a mistake. Because if Allah is talking, how Allah he witnessed that there's no God but he should say, Allah said that there's no God but I. Or he say, I am God, worship me. And then he says, and the angels and the one with the knowledge, all of them, they are doing, like let us say, like the just, or let us say, practicing the knowledge of Allah, all right? And which is assigned to Allah. So here we find that the angels and people of knowledge and Allah, all of them, they share one thing. And that is impossible.
Wow.
So the structure of the sentence is very funny. And then, by the way, here, Allah, he witnessed to who?
He's witnessing Muhammad. Allah is Muhammad's servant. What's wrong with you, CP? Up to potato.
No, Allah, when I witness to other. Allah, he witnessed to who?
Exactly.
To us. He witnessed to us. That there is no God but him. I mean, that's not smart, because I witness to God, but God witness to who?
Good question.
You know, like, it's about authority. You know, because when I witness in the front of a judge. Somebody is higher than me, and I make a statement which is, I believe, is true. All right. Now Allah is witnessing in front of who? Nobody saw Allah witnessing. Nobody heard Allah witnessing. Allah spoke to nobody, not to Muhammad. Even Jibreel, according to Muslims, Jibreel, he was collecting the information from the tablet. He did not speak to Allah. So Allah witnessed to who?
That's a good question. Inquiring minds want to know. I would have to say to you, Allahu Alam.
Yo, let me go ahead and add this comment since it's along the same lines. But I noticed another comment from Chandler Burks. He said reason 3. Chandler, I must have missed reason number 2. I was scrolling through, but as people in the chat noticed, we did have a problem. Matter of fact, it's been over the past couple live streams where someone from, I doubt it's from Christianity, has been trying to post porn links whenever we're talking about Islam. So we start talking about Islam, someone starts posting porn links left and right. Anyway, people in the chat told me, hey, you can block people from posting links, which will solve this problem. Problem was I had no idea how to do that, so I had to go and that's what I've been doing over here. I was looking up tutorials on how to block links. Anyway, think we got that problem taken care of. But for right here we have Chandler's third reason, which is basically what we just saw from Abu Bakr Ghazali. He said Muhammad preached the absolute unity of God, unlike the Trinity, which is explained differently in all 3 major faith traditions, Catholic, Protestant, and Eastern Orthodox. So Muhammad has a consistent, complete unity in his theology, unlike Christians. So that makes it true. That makes Muhammad a true prophet.
Real quickly for Chandler.
Whoa, 1 second. I just have to point out here, right? I just have to point out because Muslims rarely think about the implications of their arguments, right? So notice right here, because Sam, he just gave me everything I need to prove that Muhammad's a false prophet, right? Chandler, I hereby, suppose someone comes up and says, hey, I hereby declare that God is an absolute unity. According to the argument that you just gave, that would mean that this person is a true prophet, right? Yeah. So notice, every Muslim who affirms the absolute unity of God would be a true prophet, according to what you just said. If you preach the absolute unity of God, you are a true prophet. But guess what? Muhammad claimed that he's the seal of the prophets. But there's tons of prophets after him because there's tons of people who declare the absolute unity of God. In fact, as we've been seeing, far more than Muhammad actually preached, right? Yeah, Muslims today, there are lots of Muslims today who believe in a far more Unitarian concept of God than Muhammad believed in. But notice what you've just said. So all these people would be prophets. Therefore, Muhammad's claim that he's the seal of the prophets would be false. Therefore, Muhammad's a false prophet. Thank you for proving that Muhammad's a false prophet. But
now I want to add something, and I want CP to comment, but I do want to answer this question. Chandler Burke, I hope you've been paying attention. CP has just put holes in the assertion that Muhammad taught the absolute oneness of Allah. We just showed that the Quran teaches anything but that. Even though Muhammad wanted to say Allah's one, he ended up saying things that made Allah more than one, and actually affirmed the existence of the plurality of gods. But even with that said, among Muslims, even till this day, Muslims cannot agree about the nature of Allah. For example, the Salafi Muslims believe Allah actually has a body. Listen to this, Chandler Burks. I want you to listen to this carefully. Salafi Muslims believe Allah has a body unlike anything in creation, but he has a body. He has eyes. He has two right hands. He has a shin. He has a waist. These are actual parts of Allah, body parts, even though they're unlike anything creation. But then you have the Muslims who are known as the Ash'ari or the Maturidi who say Allah's bodiless. He doesn't have a body, and these are simply anthropomorphisms. So that is a bold-faced lie, even when it comes to Muslims today, let alone going back into early Islamic history with the debates between the Mu'tazilites and what became known as the Orthodox Muslim group, because the Mu'tazilites were influenced by Greek philosophy, Aristotelian logic, and they denied the existence of attributes as separate from the essence. But that's another story altogether. So that's not true. And real quickly about the Trinity. When you talk about Protestantism, if you're talking about Protestants who affirm the Trinity, because there are some quote-unquote Protestant groups claim to be Protestants, but they don't believe in Trinity. The Roman Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, and the Protestants who affirm the Trinity all agree there is only one eternal God, and this one God eternally exists in three eternally distinct persons. The Father is an eternal person. The Son is an eternal person. The Spirit is an eternal person. They're not the same person, distinct persons existing as one God. Now, how they explain the relationship is the Father, the fountain of Godhead, so on and so forth. There may be some differences there, but the basic affirmation that there are three eternal relationships, three eternal divine persons existing in one God, we all accept that, so that's another lie. But CP, if you want to chime in, Muhammad taught the absolute unity of God, CP, again.
Hold on. You see, first of all, when he said we Christian, we have different Trinity, this is a big fat lie, because even the Quran say, no, all of us, we have the same Trinity. So that's mean the Quran is a stupid book, because all your Quran call us, all of us, Nasara. So why your God, Allah, did not say, there's Nasara and the other group? That's mean Allah is weak in knowledge, and he need to go to school. Secondly, isn't you Muslim believe that Allah created from the sweat of horses? So how Allah is one, yet he is created from the sweat of horses? That means horses was exist before him. And if you are saying to me, I don't believe in that, this is some Muslims, crazy Muslim believe in that. So how you just said to me, we Muslim believe in one thing? Madness of Islam went beyond imagination to imagine that their God is made from the sweat of horses. It says that the Prophet says, يقول عن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله لما أراد أن يخلق نفسه خلق الخيل فأجراها حتى عرقت ثم خلق نفسه من ذلك العرق. Translation: when Allah he wanted to create himself, he created the horses, and then he made it run until it sweat so bad, and then he created himself from the sweat of the horses. My friend, if we go and take your God Allah to the DNA laboratory, we will find that he is from the same family and of horse and donkeys. According to you, not according to us. So how you say that we believe in, we Muslim believe in the same thing? The Druze, they believe that Allah is Al-Hakim bi Amrullah Al-Fatimi, and he have a son, his name is Hamza Al-Bahlawan. The Shia, they don't believe Allah have a body. The Muslim believe Allah has a body. As an example, in the Muslim Sunni, if we go to Sahih al-Bukhari, we will find in hadith number 6573, and this is Sahih, that Allah have two shapes. Which one of them is Allah? If you say to me the first shape is Allah and the second shape is Allah, what Allah did to the first shape? He shot it, he burned it, he put it in a cycle machine. How Allah can be two but yet one in the same time? And how Allah have a physical being but yet he has no spirit? And remember, the Muslim, they say that Muhammad is the same as Moses, but the God of Moses is spirit. The first verse in the Bible, or the second verse, it says that God's spirit is above the water, correct, Sam?
Mm-hmm. Above
right?
The water.
So, God of Islam, all of us, we knew that the God of Islam is not a spirit. So how the same Moses, I mean, he will go, even your God is not spirit. So what we left is God who created from the sweat of horses. He might be a mule. and then he have many shape. He change his shape. He play hide and seek, and then he have a foot. He have 5 fingers. He have an ass. He have a face. He have eyes, but yet he have no spirit. That is a statue. That's an idol. So how you Muslims, you say to me, we have one unique God, when every group of you have total different of God. The Shia, there's many groups have 2 different description of God. The Sunni, there's many groups, they don't agree with each other. Actually, the Sunni, they were slaughtering each other about how to describe God. Actually, not only that, the Muslims themselves, they don't agree if the Quran is created or not. Every group have different opinion, and now we have to divine because of that. Because if you say the Quran is not created, that means we have the uncreated Allah and the uncreated Quran. As long as the Quran not created by Allah, then we need to ask who is the divine who created the Quran, unless the Quran is a divine by himself. So now we have two divine. So how you have one God, unique God, but yet you have two uncreated divine?
Good question. Now, I hope you guys got your answer about Tawheed. That's a myth. Even Tawheed means to unify. Any other questions for CP? I'll ask him if there's any.
I mean, if we're ready to go on, we have some more we have some more Muslim arguments.
We destroyed the Tawheed thing, so.
In fact, we've got the clearest proof you've ever seen in your life here. Ready?
Yeah. What is
It's come from Usamas here.
Usamas, a gentleman yesterday.
He said, there is a miracle when there was an attempt to capture Prophet Muhammad. Prayers of Allah, prayers of Allah be upon him and peace in cave when a bird lay eggs. And in fact, there are two versions of this, right? There's the one with the spider with the web. So Sam, go ahead and tell us about this, or CP. If you
CP, what I wanted before you answer this miracle, you're gonna explain.
No. Before this miracle, before he answer, I want him to answer. Show us the reference. This story does not exist. It's a lie.
Osama Mas, you heard the challenge. Show us the reference. But what I want you to explain to us, CP, this man just said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's another thing. Who does Allah pray to when he prays? And by the way, CP, remember, Allah does salah for, not to Muhammad, okay?
Yeah.
I want you to make sure, because hijab's going to come after you. CP, explain to us, how does Allah perform salah? Because that means prayer and worship. So does the Muslim God worship?
Well, the word salah, or every Muslim, you ask him how to do, what if we want to do the prayer, what we do, we say salah. It's very easy. So because this is embarrassing, so the Muslim, they say, Allah and the angels are sending a blessing. But look, by doing that, what they did, they destroy Islam. Because if Allah blessed Muhammad, who is the angels and who is mankind, and why they need to ask for a blessing? He's already blessed. That is silly, that's stupid. It's like somebody, he did feed me, and then the angels, they keep saying to Allah, feed him. I just feed him, you idiot. He's full. So if Allah, he blessed, as the Muslim try to make it look like, then what is the need of the angels to do salah, and then the believers asking Allah to do more salah? And at the same time, how angels kind of bless you? The angels don't bless. God who bless only. Angels, like when I say to David or Sam, bless you, actually I'm making a short sentence, says, may God bless you, because I cannot bless anyone.
Exactly.
Blessing only come from God. But the verse you are quoting, Sam, it's saying it clearly that Allah and the angels, both, they are doing one act. What is the act? Salah. So if the word salah means blessing, that means angels and Allah are equal in ability. They can both do blessing. And they are the source of a blessing. But this is against what God is about. So when the Muslim, they say we believe in one God, you just made the angels God too. Because angels, they can do blessing too. And what the blessing mean, Sam? Give us like description. What the blessing mean when we say blessing?
Yeah, well, when I say blessing, I'm asking God to guide someone to the truth, to provide for his needs, to keep him healthy, and to give him eternal life. That's what I do when I say, God bless this person.
Okay, but this is mean the angel. If the angels can give Muhammad a blessing, they can give him all those things, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
But that's mean they are God too.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Not a problem, Muslims. So you got a problem.
All right, well, we got another miracle here. You guys ready?
What's the other miracle? Another one?
We have another miracle here. And this one, you do know the sources for this one. Muhammad traveled to heaven. That was a miracle. And wouldn't that be a miracle if Muhammad actually rode up to heaven?
Seven
on
heavens.
That creature?
Seven
going straight through all of them. Clearly, that's not normal. That has to be a miracle. So if Muhammad performed that miracle, how do you guys possibly reject him? I mean, obviously he's a true prophet if he flew up to heaven.
You're busted, CP Abdul. How are you going to refute that?
David, we have a problem here. This Abdul, now he will leave Islam because where in the Quran it says Allah, he took him to heaven. I will shave my 20-foot beard if you can show me the verse.
Come on, CP. You can't just follow the Quran alone. You need hadith. Astaghfirullah. You know this.
The Quran says, all what the Quran says, that Allah, he took Muhammad to the farther mosque, not to the heaven. And here we need to ask a question. How Allah, he forgot to mention such an important event that he took him to heaven? You remember only he took him to Jerusalem? It's not important to say I took him to heaven. It's important to say I took him to Jerusalem. Which one is farther? This is how silly the Quran is. Because if Allah, he took him to the heaven, the Quran should say, and we took Muhammad to heaven. But what Allah says in chapter 17, verse 1, I took him to the farther mosque. And by the way, where is the farther mosque? The Muslims say it is Jerusalem. What is the proof? Always says, Al-Aqsa. Aqsa, there was not exist. There was no mosque at that time in Jerusalem. That's stupid. So where Muhammad he been taken? Which mosque? Nobody knows. So Muslims, they have fantasy, and then to complete the fantasy, they create stories in the hadith. Now, if we go to the hadith and we see how Muhammad he went to the seventh heaven, you will die laughing. In the story, it says that when he went up to the seventh heaven, before Allah he take him, Allah he cut his chest, and then he cleansed his chest from all the dirt and all the guilt. Question, Sam. Question, David. Did God of Moses did a plastic surgery to any of his prophets to take them to heaven before he take them?
CP, this is the miracle of the Quran. It's foretelling plastic surgery. What's wrong with you?
No, what the purpose of the surgery? I mean, if the Muslim they say if Allah wants something, he say B is going to be. So why he send the three angels? One of them is Jibreel. They put Muhammad in the table and they start cutting his belly and taking off his livers and his stomach, and then they wash it with Zamzam, and then after that they install a dish of faith and dish of wisdom. Have you ever heard of wisdom coming in dishes, Muslims? Here we notice, but Sam, David, did Moses get his wisdom in dishes?
No, because Muhammad was going to be a sign for modern times, and one of the signs of today is surgery and plastic surgery. So that miracle is only for Muhammad. Come on, Abdul. You know.
But are you saying that the faith of Muhammad is made from silicone?
Yeah, it's a miracle. What's wrong? Now you can get silicone faith. Why not?
Hey, check out this comment here. We have a Muslim saying, Allah prays on Muhammad, not to Muhammad. Just so you guys know.
So he admits he
right
prays.
here. Yeah. Allah prays on Muhammad, not to Muhammad, guys.
So he admits he prays.
If Allah prays once, he prays. That's it. He prays.
But it's on Muhammad or for Muhammad. It's not to Muhammad.
Come on,
that
Abdul.
Allah's prayer.
He prays. It's too late now. It's like you say, he paint for Muhammad or he paint for somebody else. Who care? He paint. You know, that's it. I mean, when you say the Muslims are really funny.
All right, so you guys are saying you're not persuaded by Muhammad's trip through the seven heavens.
I almost was, but he convinced me that the plastic surgery part was even better.
Now, in the Muslim sources, isn't it true that he was in bed the entire time? So at best case,
yes, it says he never left his bed.
He never left his bed. So best case scenario, it's some sort of vision. Which I don't know how that would be some sort of verifiable miracle. I could fall asleep right now and have some sort of vision of myself going to heaven. No Muslim's going to take that as any kind of evidence, not even the slightest, that I'm a prophet. And yet we're giving the Muslims an opportunity here to give their best arguments, their best material, and they're giving arguments that they would never accept for anyone else. If it were anyone other than Muhammad, they would say this is zero evidence. Somehow, when they say it about Muhammad, it's clear proof. All right. Go ahead.
He have an evidence. We have to admit. Look at this. Muhammad, he said in Sahih al-Bukhari, when Allah, he took him with Jibreel by the flying donkey, he found there the river of Euphrates and the Nile. Now, isn't it the Nile and the river of Euphrates in heaven? They are. So how Muhammad, he knew this? You know? So look here. Muhammad, he claimed that he found the Nile River coming from heaven, and both of them, the Euphrates is coming from under the tree of Lut. If you go to Sahih al-Bukhari, let me get the reference. Hadith number 5610, Sahih al-Bukhari. It says that when he went there, he found 4 rivers. 2 of them is appearance, which means at the top, and 1 of them are underneath. All the 4 rivers are well known. 3 of them are well known in the Babylon land, and the other one in Africa, which is the Nile River. So how Muhammad is a true prophet, telling a true story that he went to heaven, but yet he witnessed the Nile River and Euphrates River there. What do you think, David? I think you're good in geography.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait for the Muslim response, because it's clearly a miracle. Because it defies all human reason, and therefore it must just be miraculous knowledge.
Now, CP, before we move to another question, we're going to need the Arabic expert here, because you mentioned 17 verse 1, and this again will destroy Tawheed. But I want you guys to pay attention. You got the Arabic expert here. Listen to how messed up the Quran is. The real miracle of the Quran is that people think it's miraculous because of so many errors in the grammatical structure. CP, I'm going to read it slowly. I'm going to break it down. I want you to confirm in Arabic. Here, the servant that was taken to Masjid al-Aqsa, which they say is Muhammad is God. Here's why. Pay attention to this. Folks, please, give me your ears. Devastating verse. Glorified be he who took his servant, that's supposedly Muhammad, his servant, by night from the inviolable place of worship to the far distant place of worship, the neighborhood whereof we have blessed, so that we might show him some of our signs. Only he is the hearer, the seer. Guys, catch it. It says we showed him. Who's the him? The one who went to the farthest mosque. We showed him our signs. He, the one that we showed our signs to, is the hearer, the seer, meaning he's all-seeing and all-knowing. Hold on. That's supposed to be Muhammad. He was the one taken. He's the one who has shown the miracles. He's the seer, the hearer. So either you have Muhammad being called the all-seeing, hearing one, or Allah is the one that was shown signs by this group called we. So whoever this we is showing Allah miracles, and Allah is the all-seeing, all-hearing one. CP, isn't it true in the Arabic that whoever this he is, it's either Allah, so there's someone else, others who are showing Allah miracles, or it's Muhammad being shown miracles, and Muhammad is called the seeing and hearing one. Could you explain that to us?
Let us take it from the first word. When it says Subhanalladhi asra bi abdihi, praise to the one who took his slave. Who is talking? The answer is Allah. How Allah he say, praise be to the one who took Muhammad. You know what I mean? Yep. Here there's a mistake, because if Allah is the one, he praised himself, he says praise be to Allah. Yeah. This must be somebody saying that about Allah, that then is acceptable. But Allah saying praise be to the one who took his slave. Okay, and then here we need to ask, why Allah always talk about himself as the other person? Why he don't say me, the one who took Muhammad? Then we find, as you said, that the Arabic here is mixed up. But the Muslim, my friend, just to give you the good news, the Muslim, they will find a solution. They will say in Arabic, we can delay the description for someone, put it at the end of the sentence. So here it says, As-Sami'u al-Basir, this is belong to Allah, does not belong to Muhammad. But in the same time, Allah is saying he took his slave to the farther mosque, which is blessed around, to see him or to show him our signs, right? But Muhammad, he did not see any sign, because if I go to a mosque, that is not a sign. Is that a sign? If you take me to a mosque, if you take me from here to there, is that a sign?
Yeah, but CP, you know what the sign is? That he saw a mosque that didn't exist. Remember, there was no temple or mosque, so that's a miracle.
And so, even his wife, she said, even the hadith says that he left by his spirit, not by his body.
Yep.
So he saw what? He saw a vision, you know? So, and what is the purpose of this miracle? I mean, miracles in order to show God ability. But to who? Muhammad already is a prophet, he believed. So Allah, he want to show Muhammad a belief so he can believe? He want to show him a miracle so he will believe? This is a miracle should be shown to everybody. So why Allah in the Quran, in different verse? And here you see contradiction. Isn't it Allah, he said that nothing refrain us from sending miracle except people they call it to be a lie, in chapter 17 verse number 59.
Yep, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So Allah says, I will refrain from sending miracles. So how this miracle happen if Allah refrain? Either Allah refrain or Allah did not refrain. So if Allah really took him truly, that means there's a contradiction. And the Quran says, if this is a book not from Allah, you will find a lot of contradiction.
What if I only find few contradictions? If he says a lot, what if few? Can it still be the word of Allah?
From the first verse in the Quran to the last verse in the Quran is a contradiction. I guarantee that. And I challenge any Muslim to challenge our ability to prove it. From the first page, the first page in the Quran says, in the name of Allah. How Allah speak? He says, in the name of Allah. He is the one who's talking.
Precisely. Did you have another question? Because you're pointing at something.
Oh yeah, we have questions here. Before we move on, we're a little over an hour into the live stream. I just wanted to point out that if you want any links to CP's channels and so on, those are in the description box. We've got Facebook Minds, Patreon if you'd like to support him, and his YouTube channel, of course, and a link to his books, which you can get on Amazon. So just want to draw attention to the links there in the description box. All right, guys, get ready to convert.
Okay.
Not just Sam and CP here, all of you Christians, because here we have another biblical prophecy. So we're just going to ignore the fact that according to Deuteronomy, Muhammad is a false prophet who would have been stoned to death by Moses. We're going to ignore that, and we're going to look here. God said he will make a great nation out of Ishmael. How could the Arabs become a great nation without Muhammad? So follow the reasoning, guys, because once you've got it here. Sam, isn't it true? Isn't it true that God says he's going to make Ishmael a great nation?
100%.
Okay.
Genesis 17, 19 to 21.
Okay, so apparently this only applies to the Arabs. And how could the Arabs have become a great nation without Muhammad? In what other way are Arabs a great nation without Muhammad? This is the clear proof.
Okay, now here's my question for CP. I'll get into the Bible in a minute. CP, can you show me? And I know you're not the Muslim here. Is there any verse in the Quran that says Muhammad is the son of Abraham or a son of Ishmael? Is there a verse that says that?
Nowhere. Secondly, let me add comment, please.
Please, no, go ahead. So, repeat what you said. Repeat that again.
Who said that the Arab from Ishmael? This is number one. Where in the Bible it says the Arab from Ishmael? That's false. Even in the books of Muslims it says, and if you have my book, The Deception of Allah, you will find that the Arab, the Muslims agree, that Muhammad, according to the Muslims, that Ishmael, he did marry from an Arab woman, and he learned Arabic from the Arab at the age of 13. So how somebody learn Arabic from the Arab, he is the father of the Arab. That would be the most stupid thing. Same time, the Quran says, وَدُعُوهُمْ بِآبَائِهِمْ, which means call them by the name of their father. So how the Muslim, they say that he married a woman, she is not from his people, and that made him the father of the Arab. If she is an Arab, then his children should not be Arab. As an example, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, or David. Did Moses marry from a Bedouin woman in the desert?
No.
What?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize because my geography. Yeah, he married Zipporah.
All right.
And that's his daughter's name, by the way.
If the children of Moses are Jews, they are considered to belong to Moses, or they belong to that woman?
No, exactly. That doesn't mean Moses is the father of the Arabs because he married someone from the desert. Yeah.
That's a false argument when they say that.
Yes.
On top of that, the Arab, if the prophecy about the Arab, so why the Arab are miserable? I am an Arab. Yeah. We are the most miserable nation in the whole world, and we are not a great nation. All our population is not even 30 millions. The Egyptians are not Arab. The Iraqi are not Arab. Where is the Arab? And if population is going to make them great, that's stupid. At the same time, we have nothing to be proud about. Where is the Arab? There's no Arab. The majority of the Muslims are non-Arab. The Arab are not even 5 to 7% of the total population. And if you see what the Arab, now the only thing we can say the Arab are great about is having oil. If that will make us a great, like now Saudi Arabia is meeting in the G20. The great Saudi Arabia, is it a great? No, it's not. 80% of the population of Saudi Arabia do not know how to write, how to read. So the prophecy cannot be about the Arab because the Arab until now never was, and they will never be great. For a very simple reason. Islam destroyed everything we have.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just want to add something. When you said Bedouin, I was thinking Saudi Arabian, but yes, you're right. Zipporah, Midian, they were in the desert. Now, I just want to add the biblical response. You heard what CP said. There were Arabs before Ishmael. Even in Islamic tradition, Ishmael married an Arabic woman from the tribe of Jurhum, actually two of them. But for those of you who want biblical refutation to this argument, what made Ishmael great? Not Islam. The prophecy was fulfilled in the lifetime of Ishmael. But I want to make this clear. Guys, for those of you taking notes, here's a biblical response to this distortion of this prophecy of the Bible. Genesis 21, verse 21 says that Ishmael's Egyptian mother, Hagar, she's Egyptian, went to Egypt and got him a wife from Egypt. So he didn't marry an Arabian woman from Mecca. Genesis 21:21. That's the first refutation. The second refutation, because it's a biblical prophecy, it needs to be understood in the context of the Bible. You quoted Genesis. Let Genesis explain it. Here's the prophecy. Pay attention to what the Muslims don't tell you. This is the prophecy. Genesis 17:19-21. Then God said, when Abraham said, oh, that Ishmael would live before your sight. God said, no, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, Genesis 17:19-21, and you will call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him, Isaac, as an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. And now the promise for Ishmael. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and multiply him exceedingly. He will be the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. So right there it tells you the blessing for Ishmael did not include the covenant. It's right there. The covenant I make is with Isaac and his seed, not with Ishmael. I'll bless Ishmael to become a great nation in that he will have 12 sons who will be rulers and so have numerous descendants. Now let me read 21. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this set time next year. So it's self-explanatory. He'll have numerous descendants, great in terms of numbers. Now, was that fulfilled in the time of Ishmael, or did we have to wait for Muhammad? What was the blessing? 12 rulers making a great nation. Notice 12. Genesis 25:12-18. Here's the fulfillment. Genesis 25:12-18. These are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar, the Egyptian, see, it's even emphasizing he's Egyptian from his mother's side, Hebrew from his father's side. Sarah's maidservant, which even the Hadith says she was the maidservant of Sarah, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names. Count, folks, according to the generations. The firstborn, of Ishmael, Nebawith, then Kedar, right, that's 2, Adbil, Mibsam, Mishma, I got to get to the camera. Duma, hold on, the camera. Duma, Masa, Hadad, Tima, Jatur, 10, Naphish, and Kedama, 12 sons. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these were their names by their towns and their settlements. 12 princes, according to their peoples. These were the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years old. He breathed his last and died. He was gathered to his people. They lived from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Egypt. As you go toward Assyria, he died in presence of all his relatives. 12 rulers, 12 sons, great nation. But notice where they did not live. They didn't live in Mecca and Medina. It says they lived from Havilah as far as Shur, east of Egypt, toward Assyria, which would be in Iraq. He died in the presence of his relatives. Please stop distorting the Bible. It does not support Muhammad.
And notice we've been giving everyone we've been giving Muslims the opportunity to bring their best arguments, and look at what they've been bringing so far. And I'm having trouble finding many more arguments from the Muslims here. So notice, ladies and gentlemen, we said we're giving Muslims the opportunity to bring their best arguments. This is what they've been bringing so far.
Can I add something?
You've got Ishmael's going to be a great nation.
What about the Quran?
Go ahead.
Even why the Quran did not say, I will make prophets from Ishmael.
Yeah.
Look what the Quran says. If you go to chapter 29, verse 27, maybe Sam, he can read it. Chapter 29, verse 27, it says it clearly that Allah gave Abraham 2 children, Isaac and Jacob. You find it, Sam?
Yep, here, let me get it for you. 29:27, he said, right?
Yeah.
And we bestowed on him Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we established the prophethood and the scripture among his seed, and we gave him his reward in the world, and lo, in the hereafter, he verily is among the righteous.
Which seed he mentioned?
He mentioned Isaac and Jacob, not Ishmael.
So where is Ishmael, and why he did not? I mean, how you drop the elder in the family? You drop him down. You know, you should mention we gave him Ishmael and Isaac and Jacob, and then we gave from his seed the prophethood. If this is accurate.
And to confirm your point, 45:16 CP, that the prophethood was established among Isaac and Jacob's seed Israel. 45:16 to confirm what you said, so they don't say you're twisting it. 45:16, and verily we gave the children of Israel the scripture, the command, and the prophethood, and provided them with good things and favored them above all people. So not only were they given the prophethood, they were favored above all people. Why not the Ishmaelites, CP?
Yeah, that's and at the same time, as I said, the Ishmael have nothing to do with Muhammad. But as always, Muhammad and the Muslims are looking for honor. When you have a bankruptcy, you try to attach yourself. How the Jews are evil, and then they say Muhammad like Moses. Like, was Moses bewitched?
No.
If I say to Muslim, you are following a bewitched prophet, they will feel offended, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but isn't it your book says that the prophet was bewitched? So was Moses bewitched? Was Jesus bewitched?
Never.
Was Abraham bewitched? Which prophet was bewitched? Why only those crazy stuff happened only to Muhammad?
Yeah.
To the point it says in the hadith, the prophet, imagine, this is a miracle. The prophet, he imagined himself that he'd done a thing, but in fact he did not, including sexual intercourse. So how we can trust a man? He imagined he'd done thing. What about he imagined that he saw an angel? What he imagined that the angel was squeezing him? And by the way, why the angel squeezed him? Have you ever heard of an activation of, like, did God squeeze Moses 3 times? Did God send an angel to squeeze Moses or Isa or any prophet 3 times? And why 3 times? And what happened before the squeezing and after the squeezing? Muhammad before the squeezing was mayonnaise, after the squeezing became mustard. What the squeezing for?
Precisely. CP, I want to emphasize again because people need to catch this. Notice what you said, and I want you to hammer it. Not only was Muhammad bewitched, he was bewitched to the extent he thought he was sleeping with his 11 wives. CP, what does that say about his mind that he thinks he's sleeping, having sex with women? That means something was happening to him where he's thinking he's engaged in intercourse. Now, how embarrassing is that his God would allow that to happen?
That's not only embarrassing. If you ask the Muslim, they say this is to you, this is black magic. Okay, black magic come from who? They say it's evil from shaitan.
Yep.
Okay, but isn't it the Quran says that Allah will never give authority to shaitan over anyone except those who follow thee? If you go to chapter 15, verse number 42, if you can read it for us, Sam.
15:42.
I will say it in Arabic and you read it in English. إن عبادي ليس لك عليهم سلطان إلا من اتبعك من الغاوين.
Lo, as for my slaves, you have no power over any of them, save those who are wrong and follow you.
Okay, so in order for the shaitan to play black magic on Muhammad, he have to be following shaitan. That's what the verse is saying. So this is a protection from Allah, a promise from Allah, that shaitan have no authority over any Muslim. What about Muhammad? So Muslims, they say that Muhammad is ma'soom, which means is protected. He don't do error. He don't do sin, but the Quran says he commits sin. So here you see the clear contradiction, how Muhammad get himself busted. But I will tell you what happened. Muhammad, because obviously he is a crazy mental man. The Arab at that time, as every time, when they cannot explain a medical condition, they say he was bewitched. So Muhammad obviously suffering from a very harsh condition. He have what they call it, schizophrenia. I'm not sure from the English word. You can correct me. Epilepsy, right? So like not only that, like he have 2 personality or 3 personality sometimes.
Schizophrenic. He's schizophrenic.
That would be multiple personality disorder.
It's correct. Yeah. So here you notice Muhammad. He speak about things he had done, and then the other person he don't remember what he had done because he's a different person. So he say I did that, but he in fact he did not. There's a movie. It's called The Perfect Host. If you watch, we'll see it's exactly about Muhammad. A guy, he sent letters to himself. He sent a postcard. He sent postcard from his girlfriend to himself. I don't know if you watch it. It's very.
I watched it because of you, CP. You mentioned it years ago, and I went and watched it.
Yeah, it's very funny because it's exactly Muhammad. This guy, he sent letters to himself, and then he believed that this letter is coming from his girlfriend. So Muhammad, he sent letter to himself, and he believed it is Jibreel who gave it to him.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm not supposed to laugh, CP. You're making me laugh. Stop. Any more questions for him, or I can ask him?
Yeah, this one's a little off topic, but I'd like to hear you guys respond to this. Here, our Muslim friend is going to educate you on jihad. So notice, guys, we're giving Muslims every opportunity in the universe to give their best arguments that Muhammad is a prophet. We have a mostly Christian audience, so what better opportunity can you have to reach people with the message of Islam than right now? And yet, we've seen some very, very, very strange and weak arguments. Haven't seen anything that's within 1,000 miles of a good argument or even an average argument. In fact, I have to confess, most of what I'm seeing from the Muslims in the chat is trying to change the subject to something else, trying to attack Christianity or something else, even though we're giving you the opportunity to defend your prophet right now. But this is on a little bit different topic, but it is worthy of response. He says 2 elements of jihad are spreading the word of Allah and joining good while forbidding evil. First, meaning the upholding of Allah's word. Second, means to spread the good doings while preventing evil ones. So guys, Christian Prince and Sam Shamoon, jihad means 2 things. It means spreading the word of Allah or doing good things and forbidding evil. So why in the world would you oppose jihad or resist jihad when it's just spreading the word of God and doing good things? Come on, guys.
Come on, CP. You can't refute this. I challenge you.
Sure, in the hadith, Muhammad, he said in Sahih al-Bukhari that the best of mankind are the Muslims because Islam is a supremacist cult. Chapter 3, verse 110. Interpretation of the verse according to Muhammad, he says, the best for mankind are those who bring them with the chains around their necks till they embrace Islam. So this is the good deeds of Islam, is to slave people, putting chain around their neck, and then you force them into convert to Islam, and that will make Islam a perfect deed religion. You are the best of mankind. And I will send you the link, David, and Sam, maybe you can, I don't know if you can put it on the screen so people they can see. But this is, let me post it. Actually, I will post it in that chat. I don't know if it can go through. I'm not sure.
Let me see.
Let us see. It cannot go through. No, it cannot. I will send it to you. But you see here, when the Muslims, they speak about their own way of jihad. And then their prophet, he speak about totally different thing. That to bring people to Islam, a Muslim they are the best of mankind. And because they are the best of mankind, they have a duty to enslave everybody. Bring him like a dog, putting a chain around his neck. And the purpose is noble. What is the purpose? To embrace Islam. So this is how the noble Islam work. We enslave you, we humiliate you, we rape your wife, and we killed you, and we take your money, but our purpose is noble. It's like a thief who rape, and then he makes some donation to the mosque. You see the point?
Yeah. Now, I have a question from an ex-Muslim for him. Can I ask it for him? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the CP, this is an ex-Muslim. I'm not going to mention his name because... seems like he still lives in a Muslim country, but he wanted me to ask you this. He goes, please ask CP on my behalf a question. As an ex-Muslim who lives in a Muslim locality, so that's why I don't want to mention his name, should one learn Arabic and Islamic alim course, take a course on Islam, to better confront my family? Last time, when I tried to speak of my faith, because he became a follower of Jesus, my family called Imam, and he just pushed me off, calling me psychologically ill, and he said the history was written by the Jews, and the book says Islam is true. So Islam is true, and Islam is true because the book says so. So circular reasoning. So he just wanted to know, do you advise him to study Arabic? And he said something about Islamic alim course, like learn from Muslim scholars, so that Muslims don't accuse him of being psychologically ill, but that he's educated, he knows the religion and why he rejected. What's your advice to this young brother who loves the sake of Jesus?
Thank you, my friend. I love him too. First of all, I have a degree in Islamic law. But in our school, they never taught us anything real about Islam. Nothing real. So all the study you do, you don't study from anyone. You study by your own. Islamic schools, they say nothing except Muhammad was perfect. The Quran is amazing. So all those stupid things, you have to dig for it by yourself. So if you think if you go to an Islamic school, you will learn about Islam, you are mistaken. And actually, 99% of things I say to Muslims, including those who have a beard, they say we never heard this before. So you will learn from who? The Quran says clearly that those who Quran call them scholars is the one who say we believe, not the one who knows. So how you want to learn from people who are considered to be scholar just because they say we believe? If we go in the Quran, and Sam, he can confirm in chapter 3 verse number 7, it says, and those who they have a deep knowledge, they say we believe. So what is the certificate for you to be considered a scholar? Say I believe. That's it.
So I hope he heard your question. He's been influenced by you. Glory to Jesus. May you influence more people. And I pray these young soldiers become warriors for Jesus Christ and are sealed by the Spirit. And I pray that for all of us. So I hope you got your advice, brother. I'm not going to mention your name for your safety. And the Lord loves you and watches over you. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I already put it up on the screen. This is similar to the last one. He says Muslims here. He says Muslims love Jews. I think he means, given the rest of what he said, that Muhammad loved Jews. He had a Christian wife, and he stood up out of respect at a Jewish funeral.
That's it, CP. You're busted.
So, come on. How much more tolerant and
You're
peaceful
busted,
could
man.
Muhammad possibly be? He loved Jews. Never said anything critical of Jews. He had a Christian wife, and he stood up out of respect at a Jewish funeral. He's basically the most tolerant and respectful person in history.
Better go to the mosque and take shahada now, CP. Ya kafir.
Yeah, well, the Quran, all of it is about cursing the Christians and the Jews. And not only cursing, is about taking an action by violence. As an example, chapter 9, verse 29 specifically says kill them. But as long as he is saying that he married a Jew, can he tell us how he got the Jew wife? He raped her. He married her? How? How he married the Jew? I mean, he went to her family. He said, I want to marry you. Give me your daughter. No, he went, he killed her husband. He killed her father. He killed her brother. And he raped her. If this is what makes you believe that this is love, well, I hope nobody will rape your wife and say, I love you too. Just to confirm love to you and the way you think. So this is stupid to say. Secondly, isn't it the Quran says that the most enemy to Allah is those who call themselves Jews in chapter 5, verse number 82? Isn't it the Quran says in chapter 5, verse number 28, 328, you have to lie to those who they are not Muslims, specifically the Jews. And what about chapter 5, verse 51? It says, take not Christians and Jews as friends. So when you say that Muhammad, he liked the Jews, he loved the Jews, when he killed them, he raped them, and he taught nothing but ugly stuff against them. Actually, Muhammad is the only one who believes that lizards are Jews, rats are Jews, monkeys are Jews, and pigs are Jews. Look like this is a lot of love. And here you see, by the way, Muhammad, he have a phobia from the Jews. To the point, Muhammad, he said in the hadith, that if not Eve, no woman betray her husband, and if not the Jews, no food will decay. Is that the love of the Jews, to blame the Jews for everything? And this is in Sahih al-Bukhari. You can read hadith 3399. This is too much love, my friend.
Where's the love, folks? Where is the love? Anyway, any other questions? Come
yeah,
on, Muslims,
here's
we're
one.
waiting for your best, man. We got CP here. Come on.
It kind of turned away from actual arguments or evidence, and now it's people trying to show that Islam is good, and it's positive, and it's not as bad as everyone thinks. So here's another one. This comes from Support Good and Righteousness. He says, we love and respect all the messengers of Allah. Moses, David, Solomon, John, and Jesus, or okay, he's given the Arabic and the English names. John and Jesus. Please do not listen blasphemy against the messengers of Allah. So Muslims respect all the messengers, but we don't respect Muhammad. So a couple things there, guys. Do Muslims really respect all the messengers of God, or do they just respect what one person says about everyone else?
So what do you say, CP, about that? How do you respond to this man's accusations?
When Khadija was in the bed of death, he said to her, send my greeting to my wives in heaven. Khadija, she looked at him and she said, did you marry women before me? Muhammad, he said, I meant Maryam the mother of Jesus, an Asiya.
What a blessing.
So if Muhammad respect Jesus, like now, let us say I respect you, but I want to sleep with your mother. I mean, do you see how much respect?
Yeah, that's blasphemous, dirty. I'm sorry. I'm gonna offend Muslims. That's a dirty pig, swine to say it about the mother of Christ. That's why he's burning in hell.
So when you say such a statement, this is a lie. Muhammad, obviously, he have a mental illness.
Yeah.
So how, and not only people who was even long before him, he don't tell me that this was a mistake. Allah, he promised him, he married him, Maryam. Ask yourself, what kind of a human being he will say such a statement that even Maryam, Allah will give her, as if Maryam, forgive me God for saying this,
Yes.
as if Maryam, she is a slave for Muhammad and she has no one, and Allah will throw her to Muhammad and say, hey Muhammad, take this, Maryam is yours. How disgusting. So when you say to me, we respect Jesus, shame on you to lie.
Exactly. In fact, speak confirm it further. Besides the fact of this blasphemy, that's why Muhammad deserves hell and he's under the feet of Jesus. And I rejoice at the fact he's burning in hell for such blasphemy. In Jesus' name, the Lord is victorious. But you can also confirm that according to Qurtubi, when Mary conceived Jesus, she was aroused, wasn't she? Right?
Yeah, actually, and if you read my book, Sex and Allah,
Yes.
you will see, according to the Muslims, not according to us,
Yes.
that Allah, he made Mary horny. And according to them, God, he put a sperm inside her. So when Allah, he arose her, that sperm moved, and that made Jesus. All right. So this is how much they respect. And by the way, imagine I respect Mary, and I respect, this is the mother of Jesus, and then I say in the Quran, Mary, the one who preserved her, vagina.
Yep, 66:12. So
Is that how you say respect? Imagine you call me, I speak to you, I ask you about your mother vagina. I respect you a lot according to you, right? So
Yep.
don't tell me that,
Yeah. But CP, this Muslim just got you. He said the hadith where Muhammad says to Khadija, by the way, maybe you can mention where that hadith is. Give greetings to my wives. He says it's da'if. Da'if.
it doesn't matter where it is da'if. All Islam is da'if. And by the way, as long as you said da'if, let us take it from the end. The second you say da'if, that means Islam cannot be trustworthy. Because when we say, what the purpose of saying this da'if is to say it's not valid. So now you are saying to us and you are confirming that Islam is full of invalid stories. And who is the one who decides what is valid, what is invalid? Someone who came 1400 years after. Those stories was valid for centuries. But now they are not valid. However, as long as you agree that there's tons of stories in Islam, they are invalid. So how you say that Allah preserved his religion? How you say such a thing? If the Quran alone is not enough for Islam, we cannot find tons of laws in the Quran. All of them, they are in the Hadith. But you just confirm to us that there's a lot of things in the Hadith are invalid. So Islam is invalid too. Otherwise, Allah should not depend on the Hadith. And just to remind you, I will give you a Sahih Hadith to confirm what I said. Muhammad, he says, if any one of you write Hadith from me, which mean my words, he should erase it. And this is Sahih Muslim Hadith number 3004. So, as long Muhammad said, and I will give the link to David, if you like to, I don't know if you can put it in the screen, I will put it in the chat. Here we go. Anyone who write a hadith said by me, erase it, efface it. Okay?
Thank you.
So now if we efface the hadith, all the hadith, and we keep only the Quran, how we can follow Islam? It's impossible. There's a video of Zakir Naik was saying to the fool who says we do not need hadith. He said, so how you do prayer? How much you pay zakat? How he's counting for them that Islam is invalid without the hadith. So Muhammad said you should not follow hadith, not me. And if you write it, erase it. And look how silly and stupid this cult is. He just said to you, don't write it down. You wrote down what he said.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
It's like, the prophet says, don't paint my wall, and I paint the wall and say the prophet says, don't paint in the wall.
Beautiful religion. It's beautiful. Come on, CP. This is the beauty of Islam. It's so illogical that it starts making sense. What's wrong with you?
I did post the follow-up here, and we do not make any distinguish between them. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon, respected all human being. He was sent as a mercy to all mankind.
La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That's what he says.
So, Muhammad was sent as a mercy to all mankind. He respected all human beings. Guys, is it true that Muhammad respected all human beings?
Come on, CP. You can't refute that. It's 21:107 of the Quran. He's a mercy unto all mankind. Come on, refute it.
The mercy prophet in chapter 8, verse number 12. Can you show us, Sam, what it says, or David?
Verse 12, right? Yeah, let me get it for you right here. Chapter 8, verse 12. Come on, he's a mercy. What's wrong with you, CP? I don't know why you have this anger in your heart.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Okay, let me read it for you. I don't know, man. This guy used to be nice. What happened? When your Lord inspired the angels, saying, I am with you. So make those who believe stand firm. I will throw fear, terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve. Then strike the necks and strike their fingers, each of their fingers.
Okay, why Muhammad, after he captured his prisoners, he is cutting their fingertips? He is a mercy. If we go in the hadith, we will find, and this is in Sahih al-Bukhari or other hadith, we will find Muhammad, he captured a group of people who supposedly took some camels, and they killed, they said, it says in the hadith, they killed a shepherd. He brought them, he cut their feet, he cut their hands, and he gouged out their eyes. That is torture. That is not a punishment. Punishment is something, and torture is something else. Secondly, if I ask you, I don't know, David or Sam, is a crucifixion something from Allah or from the Roman? Is that torture or this is a penalty?
Friend, you're confusing me, CP. You're saying what Muhammad did was torture?
Well, isn't it obvious putting nails in the eyes of somebody?
But merciful, CP. That's what the Quran says. That's got to be mercy. You just don't understand. That's merciful.
What about crucifying a person, put him in the cross, cutting his hands, cutting his feet, and putting nails, and let him die slowly? Is that a penalty or this is torture?
He doesn't understand. Anything he does, even if it's torture, it's merciful torture. Come on, CP. It's merciful torture.
Okay, what is it? Is it true? Because maybe they will say to you, this is a hadith. We don't accept the hadith.
Merciful.
But isn't it the Quran says in chapter 5, verse number 33,
yes,
that the penalty of those who wage war against Allah, and by the way, here war is not about war as you think. As an example, now I'm waging war against Allah. I speak against Allah, so the punishment for me for doing that is cutting my hands, cutting my feet, and crucifying me, and putting nails in my eyes.
Now, CP, curiously, I have two things for you. Isn't that true that this punishment in 533 is the same punishment that Pharaoh threatened against the sorcerers? He said that he would crucify them or chop off their hands and feet of opposite sides?
Absolutely. And here we notice that Allah and Pharaoh, they share the same penalty.
What? So
But
Pharaoh was a messenger of Allah.
Not only that, this is a scientific mistake. History mistake, because is the crucifixion is something done in the time of the Pharaoh?
There was no crucifixion time of it. There was impalement, but not crucifixion.
Yeah. So here again, Muhammad is making another stupid mistake.
Okay.
And why is adopting the Roman or the Pharaoh crucifixion?
Exactly. Now, here's my question for you then. What do you do with Qurfa? Was he merciful in torturing her, Qurfa?
Qurfa, she was the enemy of the Prophet over the age of 80. He tied her legs in 2 camels, and he ordered them to run in 2 different directions, and he cut her 2 pieces when she was alive. And that's absolutely, thank God there's no video camera at that time. You see, everything you saw in ISIS is nothing compared to the ugliness behave of Muhammad. Nothing.
Yeah, but CP, that's daif. Come on, Qurfa, that's daif, brother. Daif.
No, the story of Qurfa is authentic and all Muslims believe in it. And not only that, they praise it. Not a single Muslim, he said it's not true story.
Okay.
So, my Muslim friends, support good and righteousness. You've said that Muhammad respected all human beings and was sent as a mercy to all mankind, and yet we know that Muhammad chopped people's body parts off, burned their eyeballs out with hot nails, and would have a woman ripped apart by having camels go in opposite directions. So tying her body parts up to the camels and then making the camels go in opposite directions and ripping her apart. So man, if that's mercy, I would hate to see what violence is. If that's the mercy.
You know,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Muhammad tried everything, David. He tried everything to scare people. Terror have stages for Muhammad. So, as an example, when Muhammad he saw Muslim women, he said to them, "Oh, women, give it charity. He want their money, because most of you will go to hell. So, in order to get your money, he scared the hell of you." And women start taking their ears and their bracelet and give it to Muhammad. Muhammad he saw the Christian, chapter 4, verse number 47. He said to them, "Convert to Islam before Allah He erase your faces and your eyebrows, and He make your nose go inside your head and make you flat." If Sam he can read it.
Yep.
And here, by the way, this is additional proof that Muhammad is a false prophet. Here we go. He threatened them, and that will be done to you now, not in the judgment day. The same as I did it to the Jews, I made them pigs and monkeys. So Muhammad he threatened the Christians. If you don't believe in me, Allah will do the following. Read it for us, Sam, please.
Yes. Chapter 4, verse 47. O you who believe in the scripture, believe in what we have revealed, confirming what is with you, before we efface faces, and then it says, by making them like the back of an X, in the parentheses, the commentary of Ali Khan, without nose, mouth, eyes, etc., and turn them hindwards or hindwards, or curse them as we curse the Sabbath breakers, and the commandment of Allah is always executed. Allahu Akbar!
This is a false prophecy, David or Sam?
Definitely.
Because He promised, if you don't believe in me, Allah will do that to you. This is not in the judgment day, because it says the same as we did already to the people of the Sabbath. What He did to the people of the Sabbath, they did fishing in Saturday. Allah, He made them pigs and monkeys. So now, after 1400 years ago, until now, not a single Christian, Allah, He did that to him. Additional false prophecy, because it's prophecy, isn't it?
Yes.
When I say Allah will do this to you if you don't believe in me, and that is in His time, not after He died. If you don't believe in me, Allah will erase your faces and make them in a funny way. I mean, look at the description. If you read this, you will get scared. Really, I mean, this is true. Imagine,
Yeah, but CP, since we're on mercy, I want you to help us see how merciful Allah was to His wives. For example, Muhammad married Aisha when she was 9. When he
6.
died, she was 18. And all
6.
the other wives were in their teenage years and left them with no children, and they could not marry. And Aisha lived for many years childless without a husband. Was that merciful to do that to these women?
Muhammad, he forbid his wives from marrying after him. And that is showing you that he is suffering from mental illness. If you ask any Muslim, a woman who is divorced or she is a widow, is it better for her to stay married, to stay single, or to marry? They say no, it's better to get married, because that will prevent her from going wrong. All right? And then suddenly, just because they are the wives of Muhammad, that is a privilege to Muhammad, and no one else have such a privilege. And here you ask yourself, one of the common things cult leader they share, they make a privilege for their own. The privilege is about money, about sex, about power. Is that correct, Sam? So Muhammad here, he made in chapter 33, if you read it, chapter 53, it says, Allah allow me to marry this and have sex with this and sex and this and this and this and this and this and this, and then, and any believing women, she gave herself to the Prophet so he can F her. And this is a privilege only to the Prophet. Question, what does privilege have to do with Islam?
Precisely.
What does it have to do with the prophethood? Did God of Moses give Moses a privilege that any woman she can sleep with him as a privilege to him only, not to the Jews? Why Muhammad he can have limited of unlimited women, and Muslim they can have only 4? Because Muhammad have a privilege. Muhammad have the privilege of the booty. And the top of that, any woman she want to give herself to the Prophet, and even if she is married, you see, it says any believing woman, not a single woman, any believing woman, she want to give herself to the Prophet, it's a privilege for him. And here you notice that Muhammad must be a false prophet immediately. I saw an article, there's a list of false cult leaders. All of them, they slept with the women who believe in them as prophets. All of them. With no exception.
Now, CP, to add to the story, because I want them to see how wicked, cruel, unmerciful he was, even to those who loved him. So you heard what he said. Muhammad left, at that time, his 9 wives. when he married most of them, they were in their teenage years. So when he died, most of them were in their early 20s. Aisha was 18. Left them all widows in their early 20s. Aisha 18. No children, no husbands for the rest of their lives. And some of them lived to be in their 50s and 60s. And he's supposed to be a mercy. But here's another one. What about Sauda bint Zama'a?